my first question is: do you think that the feds are listening to us right now?
I assume you're kidding.
Okay. All right. So the Irish try to replace the Irish. You know, when somebody retires, there's always talk about replacing a woman in public office with a woman. In the context of race politics, what's your take on that way of thinking now after what you've gone through with the release of the wiretap?
Well, I mean, let's say this. Politicians like to play identity politics in campaigns only often to leave communities behind after they've been elected. African Americans are critical to electing Democrats across the country, but they're often left out after someone gets elected, and we've got to remember that. And this is not the kind of campaign that I'm running. That's not the kind of administration that I intend to build. I mean, there are black staff members at all levels of this campaign. They're helping guide us forward. They're going to be part of this campaign throughout the general election and will help build a cabinet and administration that reflects the diversity of the state. And I think you know that I have a running mate in State Representative Juliana Stratton, who's a fierce leader in the African American community. And together we've crafted a number of policy proposals in collaboration with the community and with many other communities. And we intend to govern the state that way, making sure that we're very inclusive of a lot of different voices.
Okay. Sorry again, lost my place here. It's like often, why do you think it was okay to talk about black politicians in those terms at the time you were recorded?
My intentions on that call were to advocate for Secretary of State Jesse White to be named our senator. I stand by that fact that Jesse White would have made a great United States senator for Illinois. I've known him for over 35 years. He sort of defines public service, and he's a real statesman. My intentions, nevertheless, don't excuse the words that I used, the word choices I made, and the words that I chose not to push back on that were spoken on the call. Don't reflect the commitment that I feel toward removing systemic barriers and increasing opportunity for people of color. I've spent a lifetime standing up for and with the African American community, and I feel very sorry that I was using language that can be and often is used to, limit the potential of African Americans, and it was wrong. I didn't intend it, but it happened. It was wrong, and when I'm wrong, I say I'm wrong, and I take responsibility for it.
What are you doing to change? Will you seek counseling?
Well, there's a long history of the African American community providing really important support for Democrats, and and ignoring African Americans, I think, is wrong. And to me, it's important to recognize that the kind of administration that I'll build, the kind of policies that I'll put in place, will be very good for the African American community. And despite the mistake and the regret that I have over that mistake from 10 years ago, my experience over a lifetime doing big things to help the community, like the expanding the school breakfast program that President Obama put in place, and providing early childhood education, working to change the law to expand and make universal preschool and child care for African American children, and the fact that I ran the Illinois Human Rights Commission, the state civil rights court, and turned it around so people could get justice, and the fact that I supported in a major way the Center on Wrongful Convictions and the Child and Family Justice Center, both of which serve people who've been wrongly incarcerated or people who need representation when they get caught up in the either the juvenile justice system or the criminal justice system more broadly. I think all those things are demonstrations of a lifetime of commitment on my part, and I think I'm certainly. I think one very important thing is just recognizing that call 10 years ago was a mistake and wrong, and that I'm apologizing and have apologized for it.
Hey, Mark.
One last question. Yeah. Our writer is a young black millennial, and just why do you think that that millennials, especially African American millennials, who feel the way that he feels, should support you?
Well, I'm glad you asked that, Mark, because I've spent my life fighting to advance the values of social and economic justice and equality and inclusion. My record shows that there's no other candidate with a record as strong and long as mine is in doing exactly that, living up to those values of social and economic justice. I was raised in a home where we were taught not just the importance of living up to those values, but the practice of them. And that's what I've tried to do during my life. My parents passed away a long time ago, but those values are carried on in me every day. And in this campaign, I put forward real plans to make a difference and create opportunity among African American millennials and young people all across the state. We need to make college more affordable and bring investment into our community colleges and higher education institutions. Need to thrive. We've got to bring jobs to the state and raise the minimum wage, raise wages for everybody in the state. We need to expand access to capital for small businesses in the African American community and draw businesses, big and small, to Illinois, ensuring that they hire locally. I'm a big believer that if we create profits in the African American community, create businesses that are owned by people who live in the community, that we keep the capital and the wealth in the community, and thereby we can build up prosperity in the community. That's something hugely important to me. I'll give you an example of one of the ways in which we'll do that. I mean, of course, I put forward a plan for small business development in the African American community, but I also believe we need to legalize marijuana and change the drug laws and make sure that there are real opportunities for African American entrepreneurs to become owners of dispensaries and owners of production facilities. And, that's just a portion of my plan to legalize marijuana. I also think that there's a big opportunity for us to direct much of the procurement that the state does to make sure that in black communities people have real opportunity to get those contracts and bring real dollars into the community. You've got to appoint people to positions where procurement is important, people from the African American community, I think, to make sure that happens. But also you've got to have a governor like me who cares deeply about doing that. And so I will. And, the African American community and so many communities in Illinois are under attack by a racist and bigoted, misogynistic president. And I'm someone who's going to stand up to Donald Trump and to protect communities in Illinois that are under attack by him.
I know that I'm a white guy, but I live on the South Side in Pullman. Will you do anything to rebuild the South Side?
Mark, I'm sorry. We really got to go. So you said that was the last question.
Can we talk about that another time, JB?
Of course, Mark. It's good to talk to you.
Good to talk to you. Thank you, everyone. I appreciate your help.
Thank you.